The world of handmade business can be tough when trying to monetize what you love. We've got truth bombs and motivation to help you find your way through. Passion to profit, let's start today, 'cause the world needs what you create. Tune in right now, it's your shot to learn how to be a handmade boss.
Does social media feel heavy, busy, and like it's just a constant barrage of stimulation that you just don't need? Well, today I'm going to tell you how to grow your business all the while keeping your social media practice serene AF. Hi everyone, I'm Steph and welcome back to the How to Be a Handmade Boss podcast. So if you didn't know, I help handmade business owners start, run and scale their handmade business to go from expensive hobby to six figures and beyond on Etsy and on their own website. And at this point, I'm helping over 80,000 business owners every single week with this podcast, Instagram, and a bunch of other places as well. I also have a best-selling book. I go live every single Monday on Instagram and in my Facebook group. All of these things you can find in the show notes below. So I cannot wait to support you there. Okay, so the very first thing that I want to talk about is social media feeling very heavy, and it can feel like the Wild West out there. It can feel like you're never doing enough, you're never doing the right things, you're never looking your best, sounding your best, writing your best, your captions suck, your emojis suck. If you're using too many emojis, you'll cringe. If you're not using any emojis, you're too formal. You don't know what your voice is, you're struggling to get seen. And all of that rolled into it just feeling like one of those things on your to-do list that you just think, ugh, I don't really want to do this. And if you're someone who has had posts on social media or create social media strategy or schedule social media posts in advance, and you've had that on your to-do list for weeks and weeks and weeks, and it just keeps getting pushed back and pushed back, then it could be that maybe somewhere in your brain you're trying to keep yourself safe because it is just feeling like it's all a bit too much. So let's get into the kind of main nitty-gritty of the things that I really want to cover today. So the first thing is you've got to focus on finding the right people and not just any people. Now, a lot of people, when they come onto social media, just want to go viral because they want to, or they think that that is the way to get seen. They want to be seen by loads and loads of people. You want that big number associated with your account, with your profile, with your posts. And they think that going viral is the only way to be seen. And I have seen a lot of content floating around out there talking about the Instagram algorithm, how people aren't getting seen anymore, how you have to be very, very clickbait. And while I do agree that that is the case for some accounts that have been doing a certain way of posting, and I also do agree that some, I wouldn't say social media, but especially for the likes of YouTube, for example, I mean, that's the main reason why I'm focusing now more so on the podcast, is mainly because I don't want to contribute to the problem of having nothing clickbait videos that give nothing to you guys and do nothing for you. And it's just a complete and utter waste of your time. I do not want to contribute to that problem. So instead, I decided to come over to create my own podcast. I own the content, I own the audience, and that is what is right for me, right? So when people say, you know, I can't rank, social media is this, social media is that, I agree to some extent, but there is quite a few social media places or places where you can reach your ideal customer, should I say, that isn't like that, okay? So this is where really focusing on finding the right people and not just any people. So going back to the example with me versus YouTube versus the podcast, right? So when I was posting YouTube content, I was focused on finding any people. I was like, anyone who has a handmade business, come and watch this. It's this, it's this, it's this. I used to do the really cringe YouTube thumbnails, the really cringy YouTube titles, basically that said something along the lines of, if you don't watch this video, your business will die. die. Because let's be honest, that's what a lot of the thumbnails are doing. If you go onto YouTube and type in Etsy, you'll see exactly what I mean, right? But like I said, I was focused on finding any people and not the right people, okay? Now, the right people will most likely listen to me on a podcast, or they'll most likely watch me on YouTube, but they don't really mind where they're consuming the content as long as they're getting the content, right? So this is where doing the same kind of audit for you is really, really important, because are you focusing on finding any people? Are you focusing on raising that number, followers, profile visits, saves, shares, comments, likes, whatever that thing is? But are you actually really looking into who those people are? Are they the right people for you? And this is where leaning into finding your target audience really marries up nicely with this. Now, if you want to know more about target audience, if you go to episode 22, I talk a lot more about how to find your target audience, what that looks like, and all of the bits and bobs that are involved in that. But basically, to summarize this point, please focus on finding the right people, not just any people. Now, the next thing that I want to talk about is about the content that you create. Now, it's really a case of if you are wanting a calm way to do social media, you're wanting your socials to be serene, you're wanting everything to be very and just not this hustle and bustle that social media can be sometimes. But if that's you, if that's what you want, it's really important to focus on the quality of your content rather than the quantity. It is pretty much the same with all algorithms out there, which is the higher quality your content, the more people will interact with it. Because I'm going to call a spade a spade. There is not a lot of quality content on social media these days, is there, guys? Really? There's not. Let's just be honest. So when you come across a piece of content that you're like, yeah, I want to interact with this. I like this. This is fun. This is engaging. This is entertaining. This is inspiring. This is educational. People are going to interact with it. And when you get enough interaction on a post, then the algorithm starts to send it out to more people. So actually doing the quality versus quantity thing is a good standpoint to come to it with. Okay. So this is where I always say to people, speak about what you love, what you know, and what you would talk about anyway. Speak about what you love, what you know, and what you would talk about anyway. So I'm saying, talk about the things that maybe won't go viral, aren't going to vibe with tens of millions of people, but that that are going to reach the right people, and the right people who see that right piece of content at the right time are going to vibe with it, and they're going to vibe with you. Don't be afraid to be yourself. And I know that sometimes as creatives, it's not been the first time, let's all be honest, where we have been ourselves, as crazy and as weird as that may be, and we have been insulted. We have had comments thrown our way. We have kind of just been taught to get back in our shell, get back in our box, and don't come out again. And unfortunately, I see this happen a great deal, where there is a really talented creator, but she's too afraid to come out of her shell, to come out of her box, because she's worried about what other people will say, do, or think. But this is where, and actually the ironic thing is that social media is really where people are craving that kind of connection. So create quality content and speak about what you love, what you know, and what you would talk about anyway. The next thing is to find your home hub, and this is one place. If you've been with me for a long time, you will know that I have spoken about the home hub a lot, okay? A lot. And I really talk about this, from a place of not being overwhelmed with having, it seems like hundreds of different social media platforms and having to post on here and post on there and post on this and post on that. But also from a place of effectiveness. When you have just one place that you are posting, and by the way, guys, if you want to know more about what on earth a home hub is, how to find yours, we dig into that in episode 26, okay? But when you have just one place where you are posting, that is where you make the effort to A, create quality content, but also B, to make sure that that is the damn place where your target audience hangs out anyway. For example, if you think your home hub is TikTok and you've been seeing, TikTok, I'm going to post on this and this, that's great. But if your target audience is anyone outside of 13 to 23-year-olds, you might actually be finding it quite tricky to get sales from it. Why? Because your target audience may not be hanging out and consuming quality content on TikTok. Right? They're not finding you. They're not vibing with you. So finding your home hub really makes this whole thing easier, because immediately you're cutting out all of the noise of being on all the platforms and doing all the things. And instead, you're just focusing on one place. And that in and of itself, if this is the only tip that you walk away with, then this is going to help you out tons. The next thing that I want to talk about is knowing your brand values and your personal values and sticking to them, even if all the advice says not to. Listen, if you are creating a business that sits outside of or goes against your own personal values, it's not going to work. And I've seen this happen a lot, and it can have symptoms such as burnout, such as really procrastinating, creating stuff for your business, talking about your business. It can even manifest itself in self-sabotage, feeling really uncomfortable when you're working within your business. Believe me, I've had all of these things. I have had a business in the past, and even to this day, I've had elements of my current businesses that have felt very jarring and have felt very misaligned with me. And it's not until I've actually highlighted that and become very aware of that then I've gone, okay, this is why. It's because my personal values is A, B, and C, and this has been something completely different. Right? So knowing your brand values and your personal values and sticking to them when it comes to your business, and therefore how you market, is really super important. Write them down on a post-it note, put them somewhere where you're going to see them every day if you have to, but just make sure that you're not starting to push your own boundaries to try and go viral or to try and take advice from someone else, right? At the end of the day, business should feel and be joyful and be fun. And if you are posting content and creating content that doesn't feel like that, then what is the point? Because yes, you might make 10 sales tomorrow. Yes, you might make 100 sales this month, but is it going to feel good for you? Probably not. So the next thing I want to really talk about is being the person that you wish you had found years ago. Now, here's the thing, is that your journey is really close to and reflective of someone else's journey. And a lot of the time, this is also your target audience's journey, okay? So whatever your journey was to get to where you were, to creating the products that you create, along the journey, and I know I've said journey a bunch here, but you know what I mean. Along the journey, you have had various needs, wants, and pain points. Now, your target audience is going through that very same journey. So creating content around that, talking about the things that you wish someone had spoken about years ago, showing things that you wish someone else had shown years ago, being the person that you wish you had to follow, to consume content from, to talk to years ago, is a really important aspect of making sure that your social media aligns with you and the people that you want to attract. Now, the next thing that I want to talk about is switching off. Now, obviously, so far, we have talked a lot about cutting out a lot of the noise and a lot of the nuances and bits and bobs that everyone says that you should do. We've talked about focusing on finding the right people. We have talked about creating quality over quantity. We have talked about finding one place, your home hub, to post on. And we've talked about creating content that you wish you had years ago, and creating content that aligns with your values and your business's values as well. So all of those things should have really helped you to start to create in your head a strategy for social media that is calm and nice and easy and not overwhelming. But what happens when you are someone that does post and immediately you have this urge to take it down? Like, you're really not used to posting on social media. You're not sure whether you've done it right. You feel exposed. You feel like someone's going to make a comment. You're not quite sure how you feel about it, right? I think one of the best things that I do is if I've just posted something that is outside of my comfort zone, and this really applied to me, my first few videos, my first few podcasts, and my first few lives, right? I was so scared about what I would think, the opinions I would have, what other people would think, what other opinions other people would have. And to be honest with you, to this day, I don't ever rewatch my own content or listen back to my own content. I just literally record it. These days, I have someone edit it for me, and that's it. It's done. It's out of my brain. It's spoken. It is done. There's nothing I can do about it. I can't obsess over, oh, I said this word wrong, or I tripped over that sentence, or what have you. But if you can't do that, if you don't have a team or someone who can edit your stuff for you and post it for you, is to take a break after you post, especially if you are tempted to take it down. Now, this really kind of falls into setting boundaries for yourself, but I think this specific point really relates to making sure that you yourself are sticking to your own boundaries, right? So for me, this was, if I'm posting something that's outside of my comfort zone, I'm turning off social media, I'm turning off my phone, and I'm leaving it for 15 minutes. If I still feel the same way, still as intensely 15 minutes later, then I will go on to it and I will have a look and see how I feel then. But the chances are that once you have sat in that uncomfortable feeling for 5, 10, 15 minutes, it will start to subside, and you'll start to kind of realize that, hey, your anxieties around posting on social media have no roots, and it's really just your amygdala trying to keep you safe and trying to keep you in your comfort zone. Now, the last point that I want to talk about is growth, okay? Because I know that a lot of people don't necessarily have anxieties around posting, but they do have anxieties around what it looks like to other people. It could be competitors, it could be mentors, it could be friends or family members when their growth is slow. And that's probably the reason why people like that might not post on social media, because they think, what's the point? What if I try and I still don't grow? And the thing that I really need you guys all to remember is, if you grow by one person a month, by just one new follower a month, that's great. You're still seeing growth, and that might be the right one person that you need. That might be one person that tells all their friends about you. That might be one person that loves what you do and buys every single product. That might be just that one person that needs and wants everything that you have. Never forget that even if you have 50 followers, that's still 50 people. Imagine 50 people in a room who love you, who adore you, who want everything that you make and create, and who are obsessed with you. Like, that's a lot of people. That's still 50 people. So don't ever go, oh, I've only got 50 followers, or oh, I've only got 100, because that makes all the freaking difference. Okay, so let's go back to our two favourites, Sam and Lydia. And I want you to let me know if you see any characteristics of Sam or Lydia reflected in your experience. Okay, so Sam saw what others did and has started posting the same sort of posts that she sees others doing. And then she gets fed up because she's like, oh, well, they're getting loads of like comments and hearts and whatever, and I get nothing. So she starts to then get fed up and she stops posting. Sam is inconsistent, to say the least. She posts for 2 weeks and then disappears for 6 weeks, and then comes back for a week and then ghosts again for 6 months. And that's kind of the pattern that she has. Sam doesn't know what her brand values or her brand voice is, and instead she focuses just purely on going viral. Like, she goes on social media and she's like, I need to go viral. And that's genuinely what she thinks her goal should be. Sam is also camera shy, but never practices or tries to embrace that by gradually building up her confidence. Instead, she forces herself outside of her comfort zone, posts a selfie of herself, panics, takes it down 5 minutes later, and then beats herself up and says, I can never be a good business owner because I can't do social media. I don't understand. I don't want to do it. And then she just gives up on her entire business. And then 2 weeks later, she's back and she restarts the cycle again. Now, Lydia, on the other hand, she knows that although her numbers won't be big, if she talks about what she loves, she stays true to herself and her brand, she knows eventually she will find her people. Yes, it will take time, but as long as she's consistent, she will get there. Lydia also embodies the person that she wishes she had found years ago. She also focuses on posting on just one platform, which is her home hub. And although Lydia doesn't post often, she posts consistently at the same times. Now, she also focuses on creating authentic, honest content with strong calls to action. And calls to action is basically the next step that you want the consumer of that content to take, whether that's buy this, leave a comment down below, share this, save it, whatever that is. And she also started off super camera shy, but Lydia has slowly been building her confidence every single week by pushing herself a little bit outside of her comfort zone every single day. Now, guys, as far as homework goes this week, what I really want you to do is I want you to go back through the tips that I have gone through, and I want you to pick 3 that you are going to do ASAP. Okay, to make social media a bit more easier for you. So that could be focusing on finding the right people and not going viral. That could be doubling down on your target audience and listening to episode 22. That could be really embracing talking about what you love and would talk about anyway, and creating quality content. Or it could be finding your home hub, and we talk about that more so in episode 26. It could be really finding what their brand and personal values are and sticking to them, or it could be being that person that they wish they'd found years ago. It could be switching off social media after you post, especially if you're feeling away about it. And it could just be by naturally embracing that, hey, if I grow by 1 person a month, that is enough for me. So guys, thank you so much for joining me in this episode. There are going to be some social media resources for you available in the show notes, so I would love for you to check those out. We do have the SMS membership there as well, so if you want social media to be done for you, then that is definitely something for you to check out. But for now, my loves, I shall catch you in the next one. Thank you so much for tuning in to How to Be a Handmade Boss. And if you're eager to boost your Etsy sales within just 7 days, then be sure to join my most popular free training at handmadebosses.com/conversion. You can also find the link in the show notes as well. Keep an eye out for our next episode, where we'll be continuing our journey towards handmade business success together. And until then, keep crafting and stay inspired, because the world really does need those special creations that only you can make.